Hey guys, it's your friendly neighborhood solution architect Adam. Today I'll be walking you through our intake to contract process for procurement teams. Procurement teams handle a lot of requests, hundreds to thousands of requests across software, consulting, hardware, whatever it may be, and to handle all these requests can get quite difficult. So I'm going to show you this process of how we can handle your intake, triage, and coordination of all the requests going through your workflow. So we'll start off here in our landing page. This is your one-stop shop for everything related to your third-party purchasing requests. You could have lots of different things. These are all customizable widgets. Here I've set up some quick reference guides, key guidelines, key contacts, average timelines, things like key metrics. Since we're connecting to all your systems and teams, we're able to measure across the board. Third-party engagement forms, we'll be going over the third-party engagement request, but whatever it is important to your teams, you can make available for them to kick off here as well. Then we have some high-level data visualizations, which are all real-time. And then finally, we have our intake list. So we have it broken down by net new, renewing, expanding. But the idea is that you can come here, see where your team stands at any given moment, or maybe your team members can come and see what they need to do at any given moment. So high level, we could see that there's a software purchase being made by Ben Wallace, where it stands, the status, the owner, when it's due, the contract value. Any data that's important to you, you'll be able to customize and display here. Then you'll be able to drill in as well to see where these things stand within a custom purchase request tracker. So we'll take a deeper dive into this now, and we'll walk all the way through the intake to contract process. We'll come up here and kick off the third-party engagement request. The first thing we need to do is choose the type of engagement request we would like to move forward with. Is this a brand new purchase, or is this a renewal, expanding, proof of concept, etc.? This is very important because depending on the type of engagement request we select, we'll be met with a different set of questions. So it's very important to understand what type of engagement you're working with, what type of category of purchase. So if it's software, consulting, hardware, depending on all of these choices, we're going to give you a different set of responses or response questions to fill out. We'll add a total contract value, and it is set in USD. So depending on these initial choices, we can see here that I have some additional questionnaires around software, some legal information. And this is just a small example. Obviously, these things get much more complex, but I just wanted to highlight all the different sections of a questionnaire, of an intake questionnaire, that might be important to your team. So for instance, if this is a brand new vendor, maybe you have to upload a W-9, or maybe there are just other documents in general that the requester wants to upload to add context to the request. Finally, we have our security questionnaire. So now based off of this information, Tonkean is actually going to generate a Coupa purchase order for us. This is using all the information that we just put in through the form. And then additionally, we're going to send out notifications to our team members to let them know that they'll have to review this request. We could click into this tracker here, or we can take a look at this notification in real time. We could see here that we're notifying strategic sourcing, letting them know that there's a software purchase for Acme. And we could either approve this request, deny this request, or review this request. So this is very important. Depending on where your team is working, what they care about, you can notify them there, but as well give them action items to then move the process forward. So let's click review request, and this will bring us to our intake tracker, really our whole engagement assessment tracker. So we can see here now we're in the sourcing review stage. Everything you see here are widgets that are completely customizable, all used and built by our no-code builder. So here we have our status. You can see there's quite a lot of things we have to cover in today's demo, but we'll continue to move along. We have some data at a glance, such as the purchase type, software, the vendor, and then here's our average risk score. So we really wanted to focus on this demo as far as focusing on the risk and compliance score. So every single question that is answered during the intake, we will then assign a risk score and then average that out and give the reviewer an idea of just how risky this supplier might be for the company to use moving forward. So some additional risk questions. Next, we have some sections focused on documentation. So we will automatically generate a folder name, a folder URL. And then we'll also give you some Coupa supplier info. Since we are connected into your Coupa, for example, this could be any system that you're leveraging. We could then go reach out via API and pull in additional information to really enrich your request. So we have here a link to the supplier profile, the purchase order we created, and we even pulled in some information from Coupa around the supplier health as well, because Coupa does tackle this side of things as well. Next, we have some workspace actions. We'll cover these a little bit later. And then we have a strategic sourcing review where me, as a strategic sourcing reviewer, will come and approve this request. So really, I'm just looking to see if this is a complete request. We have some additional risk and compliance review items that we have to go through. We'll cover that next. And then finally, the last two widgets I want to show off is the timeline and the comment section. So this will give you an ability to see the entire auditable history of what's happened for this particular request, as well as seeing all the comments as this changes hands, passes between people. You'll be able to keep track of who said what and where. So let's go ahead and approve this. We'll just add some notes. Looks good. Approve request. Now by approving this request and we refresh the page, we can see that we'll have moved from the sourcing review to the risk and compliance review section. So maybe now one of your supporting functional partners, teams like InfoSec or legal, whoever may be, whoever is important to the process can then come in and look at what needs to be done. So we can see here 2 sections have already been manually approved. We have some auto approvals based off of the risk score and the data that we pulled in automatically from connected systems. We could see that there was no need to have additional review for these particular compliance gates. But let's check out what's going on with our financials. We can see here we're in another custom interface, more focused on the treasury or financials team, really giving them the part of the process that they care about, the data that's important for them to make their review. So you can see here we have some information about the contract start date, the total contract value, etc. Additionally, we're focusing more on the compliance risk here, and we pulled in some additional data from Dun & Bradstreet. So similar to what we did with Coupa, we did the same thing with Dun & Bradstreet, where we reached out, did an API call, pulled in the information, and now am making it available for this reviewer so that they can more easily make their approval of this particular supplier. Scrolling down, we could also see that we can embed forms. So in this case, maybe it's a W-9, maybe it's a 10K, whatever financial statement, whatever is important to this team, this particular functional supporting partner, you can make available for them so that you make their work easier, and they could all work here. And then everything they do, all the work, all the information, all the communication is then saved in a central location or pushed to other locations as well. So if we wanted to take this data and then push it to Coupa, we could do that as well. But let's move ahead in this process, move this particular risk and compliance review to approved, and then we'll hop back to our overall tracker, and we can see now we're in the RFX sourcing process. Everyone has reviewed the request and the supplier that we're looking to onboard, and they've passed the risk and compliance part. So now we want to go and kick off an RFX process to gather additional information and maybe allow some other competitors as well to make a bid on the process. So we'll go and click one of these workspace actions to kick off RFX process. And first we'll choose the type of RFX, because what Tonkin's going to do is it's going to automatically generate the RFX for us. So whether it's an RFI, RFP, whether it's software, hardware, consulting, whatever the details and business logic is, we'll use different templates to then generate that engagement and then also populate the fields that we can populate, such as the vendor name, address, contact information, etc. So we'll go ahead and choose RFI. Let's choose some participating vendors. Let's add a date for the questions being due, the date for the final responses due. Maybe there's some additional documentation we would like our submissions to include as well. So we'll go and generate our RFX. So once again, Tonkin is generating an RFX for us. I would like to highlight at this stage of the game that we are pulling in notifications for our business partner as well. So visibility is very important. So after a request is made, the requester will be able to see, okay, what's going on where. So suddenly we're in the RFI stage. Awesome. Let's go and click into our interface. So slightly different interface here as well because we care about different things. We can see that we've generated a folder for us, and this will automatically collect all of the generated documents as well as the submissions. And then finally, we have the status of our actual RFXs going on. And then you can see here an example of the actual RFI that we generated. So since we chose a software RFI, this is the template that Tonkin would then use. And then we would also populate whatever information is important to the requesters. So we have here our example. We won't walk through an entire RFI submission process, but do know, similar to the example just earlier with the risk and compliance gates, the same thing will work here where everyone comes, they have one place to work, they could follow the audit trail, they can apply comments, they can work together until they feel comfortable choosing their vendor. So let's skip ahead and do so. We'll mark Acme approved, and then we'll head back to our original interface. So we can see now we're out of the RFX sourcing process and we're into the contract approval stage. So once again, similar to before, we'll be skipping ahead a little bit because obviously a lot of work goes into redlining all the terms, etc., agreeing on a complete contract. But let's go through that process like we would in Tonkin. We'll go once again and kick off the contract process. Here we're asked a couple of questions, but you can see here there's something really we need to fill out because all this data has been collected earlier. Often with manual processes, you're constantly filling out these forms with the same information. Since Tonkin's connecting all of your systems and teams, if the data exists already, let's put it in front of the person right away. And then all they really have to do is review and double check and go and click generate contract. So we'll hop over to this new generated contract screen, and here we are. We have our engagement details, etc. We have some documentation links such as the folder URL where we're saving all of this, our Coupa purchase order, which is important to this process, and the purchase order ID. And then finally we have, similar to before, once again, all of the gates, really the review gates that need to be complete before we move forward in the process once more. We have here also another example of automatically generating a document. You can see it's captured the information that we've put in earlier, the contract value, the start and end date, etc. And then also we have our following widgets. We'll give this a refresh because in the background, Tonkin is connected to DocuSign, and we're actually creating an envelope, putting the generated document contract into the envelope and setting it up so that people can be sent this document. So we can see the status is now sent. Let's go and click into this URL, and we'll be brought right into DocuSign where we could then sign this document. So there's a lot of things you can use Tonkin for, but Tonkin can also connect to all of your other systems that you're already currently using, and DocuSign is a great example. We'll sign this, we'll click finish. So now that we've signed the contract, we'll give this a refresh. DocuSign is being monitored by Tonkin, so we can see here the status is now complete. So we've guided you through the entire process of the intake to the risk and compliance, to the RFX process, to the contracting process, and helped coordinate all of that, the steps all the way. It is worth mentioning that because everything went through Tonkin, we've collected all this data and we have the final contract, we do have the ability to then perform OCR on the final contract and extract key points and save those into our system as well. This way you can monitor those key points of information and then automatically notify people when suppliers fall out of compliance, for instance, when their contracts are coming up for review, and also just in general be able to search existing contracts, whether active or inactive, in sort of a repository or knowledge base. So hopefully this helps. Until next time, thanks.